The Audi A5, what a good looking car. Need I say more? I mean, that in itself sold this car to a lot of people. I think a lot of people would probably order this car before they even got in it, before they even drove it, because Walter De Silva, the head of Volkswagen design back then, he penned this car and he did a fantastic job, and he said so himself because he said it's the most beautiful car he's ever designed, and his portfolio of cars was pretty big. To me, it looks like a mini German muscle car. It's got that American muscle car shape to it, but with a much more European compact dimensions. It's got that like flowing rear haunches, the line that runs from back to front, the big thick rear C pillar, and the very steeply raked front A pillar. It's just an all-round great looking car. The A5 was introduced in 2007. It's an executive coupe based on the A4 saloon. Its chief rivals were the BMW 3 and 4 Series and the Mercedes C-Class Coupe. This is tough competition, so how did it fare? So there's good news. This car fully passes the fat bottom bottle test. In this front cup holder here, it slots in absolutely perfectly, and it also can fit in the two side pockets, in the door pockets as well. A nice little cubby here at the front behind a damped cover. The same with the glove box. You open it, but then it sort of just gradually drops in a very smooth and Audi-like way. You've also got a sunglasses holder up here, which I think all cars should have, and most cars don't. This adjustable armrest here, which goes forward, back, up and down, and then underneath that is a small cubby hole for other stuff, and then a little one alongside the cup holders where you can quite easily fit like a mobile phone or something like this. This car is the black edition, which if you've ever turned your phone or your computer into dark or night mode, where everything goes black, that's basically what they did with this car. Like the door handles, the mirrors, the front grille, the interior with the piano black inserts, and it's got this kind of mean look to it. Give you these 19-inch alloy wheels. Because it's based on the S-Line trim level, which is the sporty trim level, it's also got the sports suspension as well, which means that it is a little bit firm. And of course it comes with loads of equipment. You've got all the sort of usual luxury things you'd expect in a car like this, like cruise control, you've got dual zone climate control, automatic headlights, automatic wipers, auto dim rear view mirror. You've got like these adjustable leather seats. You can adjust all the lumbar support and you can set them up perfectly for you. The seats are firm but comfortable, they're not too bad. When you first drive one of these, when you first get behind the wheel and set off and you're doing low speeds, you might actually be disappointed with how it feels, because you think, this is supposed to be a sporty coupe, but the steering feels really, really light, and it feels like it's not really connected to the wheels that well. That's actually a good thing. When you're driving around town, all you need is very light steering to be able to nip in and out of traffic, to make your life easy on your commute when you're doing your parallel parking. But don't worry, because once you actually get on the move in this car, the steering weights up. It's got variable electric power steering, and now that I'm doing 40 miles an hour, the steering actually now feels sharp. It feels like the car is doing what I ask it to do, and it becomes a much more enjoyable car to drive. You get the best of both worlds. Okay, I like to complain about modern technology like electric power steering, but you couldn't do this with an old hydraulic setup. As well as it being a good looking car, they were focusing on it actually handling well and stuff, and when they did that right from the sort of DNA of how they designed this car, because they brought the engine back quite far back in the engine bay. There's a bit of space in front of it. It's basically behind the front axle, and it means that the distribution of weight in this car is somewhere between a front and mid-engined car. So that of course means that in terms of handling, the car's got a better centre of gravity and it's going to handle better. The only thing I would say about town driving is that this very steeply raked pillar here does obscure a fair bit of scenery when you're trying to let's say go around a roundabout or something. It's not awful, but it's just something to be aware of. And then of course at the back of the car there's a big fat rear C pillar, so this car is a fantastic looking car, and they've had to compromise slightly on being able to see out of it perfectly. With it being the black edition based on the S-Line and the firm suspension, it has got quite a firm ride, but it's not atrocious, it's just on the firm side. Obviously it's got these 19-inch alloy wheels as well. If you get hold of one of these A5s with 17-inch alloys and standard suspension, then it's going to feel like a real comfortable car, I think. So this car's the 6-speed manual, and it's probably one of the few things that I'm not hugely impressed with in this car. It's got a real sort of like notchy feel to it. There's a lot of resistance and crunchiness. I obviously am being picky here because it's an absolutely usable gearbox. I would probably just get one of these as an automatic because it would really suit this car. There aren't any slow options. The very slowest car did 0 to 60 in 8.4 seconds, and that was the 1.8 litre TFSI petrol. Now this car is the 2 litre diesel, which they had various power levels of. This is a 177 brake horsepower. It feels pretty quick. It feels like a nice nippy car when you put your foot down, as long as you're in the right gear, because as always with diesel, it's got a short power band. But when you're in that power band, it feels great. It does like kind of shove you back a bit. Right from the beginning, they had the Audi A5, had a 3.2 litre V8 in it, a huge amount of power, huge amount of torque. And that was a quick car. Then in 2010 they introduced the RS5, which has got even more power and even more handling prowess and torque and everything. And of course, all those high-spec Audis, they came with the Quattro 4-wheel drive system as well. The entry-level 1.8 petrol and 2 litre diesel are both great performers, and you're never going to not have enough power to overtake or get safely onto the motorway. The MMI system, which is this screen here in the middle, it's actually really, really nice to use. I really like it because you control it with the wheel down here in the middle, and it means that you don't have to go touching it. And it's quite far back set into the dashboard, which I have to say in previous reviews I've thought, I don't really like that, it's a bit old-fashioned looking, but I think what it does do is keep the sun off of the screen. It's got this built-in protection from the sun here. All the software in it is slick and easy to use. You can change all sorts of stuff in here, like settings for the car and whether you want the doors to lock when you drive along, and you've got your Bluetooth telephone connection. With this being the Black Edition car, it's got the Bang & Olufsen sound system, which is a 14 speaker system and obviously super high quality, great sounding. Apparently even has active noise cancellation, a bit like those noise cancelling headphones. So it should be, in theory, quieter in here. Now it is quiet in here, but I don't know if it's because of that or something else. It's a fairly refined car and a very sort of planted German car for motorway use. And of course you've got an armrest here, an armrest here. You can really drive the car in quite a relaxing manner on the motorway, and the steering still feels, it doesn't feel twitchy or anything. The whole car just feels fairly planted. When it came out, the A5 was a super safe car, although they never actually crash tested it. The A4, which it's based on, was a 5-star car. Of course, you've got the very rigid, solid body shell, you've got all the airbags. So about halfway through its life in 2011, they facelifted this car. They did kind of change the front end quite a bit. The headlights got a little bit narrower, and the rear tail lights as well they changed. They changed the front grille slightly by just rounding off the edges, but they also introduced DRL's daylight running lights as well. They just made the car slightly more modern looking, but they didn't really dramatically change it. So I wouldn't worry too much about whether I got the facelift or the pre-facelift. So with it being a coupe, it's probably quite important to find out what it's like in the back, and for that I'm going to ask backseat JJ, what do you think in the back, mate? What's it like? Is there much headroom and stuff? Well, the headroom's all right back here. I think it's better than the Mercedes-Benz C-Class Coupe, but it's still quite tight, and for anyone who's kind of 6 foot tall, you're not going to be able to sit here without either slouching your back or dipping your head down a bit. But for smaller adults or children, it's really not bad at all back here. It's quite spacious, and the legroom is pretty good as well. It's worth mentioning the boot in this car is actually pretty big. It's kind of basically as big as any saloon car that you'd expect to buy today, so it's quite practical back there. They designed it to fit 2 golf bags across widthways, or as in the Hitman film, 2 bodies, so take your pick. Oh well, yeah, thanks very much for that, man. With this generation of Audi, the sort of mid-2000s, 2010, the interiors of them from pictures never really looked that interesting to me. They always look very drab and dull, but actually once you're in this car, it doesn't feel drab and dull. It feels quite, it feels sporty. Like the way this dashboard is cowled here around the side, it's kind of angled towards you. You've got these very sporty TT-esque dials in front of you with the teardrop shape. In the sort of small end of the teardrop, you get your fuel and your temperature, and then in the big end of your teardrop, you get the RPM and speed. It isn't really about what this interior looks like, because it's all about how it feels to use, and it feels absolutely brilliant. The buttons have got this really nice click to them. The knurled aluminium climate control dials feel fantastic to use, and they click on each sort of notch up that you want. The indicator, when you turn it on, has a very, very soft, quiet sound to it. If I indicate left now, it's really quiet. Because in this car they made use of aluminium, the front wings and some parts of the suspension are made of aluminium. It's not too heavy for a car like this. I mean, it's not by no means light. It's 1,450 kilos, but it's lighter than the equivalent Mercedes-Benz at least. And it means that this car does get pretty decent fuel economy. Now, in this 177 brake horsepower diesel, you'll get 60 mpg, which is, really good. And then the petrols, they're not bad either. You're talking 40 to 50. The tax is £30 a year for this diesel engine car, which is really, really good. Back when they were championing diesel and made it cheap to tax, and they've kept it that way. So what I pay per month for tax on my car is you could get a whole year with this one. This time around, I actually remember distinctly the advert for this car when it came out. It was one of those sort of like adverts where you didn't really know what was going on for quite a long time. It had a load of flowing lines just randomly sort of appearing into different shapes and things, and you could sort of see a little bit of Audi forms appearing and disappearing, and then eventually you sort of got the whole full shape of the Audi A5. And it had this beautiful piano music in the background, which was actually one of the very first pieces I learned on piano when I picked it up as a 20-year-old. So that advert, watching it again, it's got a bit of an emotional resonance with me, at least. What they were really saying was that they don't have to say anything else about this car, because they can just say, look at it, look what we've done, it's a symphony of lines, please go buy our car. So I just want to say a big thanks to Ollie for lending me this car. Now, I'm always joking about architects on this channel and what sort of car would be suitable for an architect. Well, Ollie is an architect and he's bought this Audi A5, so anecdotally, this is definitely a good car for an architect. I mean, it certainly looks the part. To be honest, I wouldn't blame you if you'd gone out and bought one of these without even watching a review, or watching this review, watching any review, because, it's a great looking car, it's an Audi, it'll be fine. But now, at least, having watched this review, you know that you've made the right decision, or if you're going to buy one, then you probably won't regret it. Now, I would just say that, obviously, it depends exactly what you want from a car. If you like how this car looks, if you're not too worried about out-and-out handling or out-and-out luxury feel, then this car makes an absolute perfect compromise between cars like Mercedes-Benz and BMW. One of this car's chief rivals, the Mercedes C-Class Coupe, is also a fantastic car, so I would highly recommend watching this video up here to get an idea of that car as well, if you're thinking of buying this one. And yeah, just thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.